This is Krisha Day of bizgrowthnews.com, and I've just been at a workshop today hosted by the Irish Internet Association, and I'm delighted that Roseanne is able to be with us from the IIA. You'll know her on Twitter at @IIA, and she also does a lot of work on the IIA blog. And Brendan, who has been hosting the event because he's in charge of our social media working group, and you'll find him online on Twitter at Brendan Hughes. So, Roseanne, tell us why we did this session and a little bit for people who are with us today about what the social media working group's about and what we were trying to achieve today.
Well, the Irish Internet Association asked Brendan to chair the social media working group and to help set it up originally because we felt that there was a lot of, I suppose, misunderstanding, that there's a need to maybe clarify certain aspects of what social media does, particularly from a business point of view. We're a business association. So the social media working group, this was kind of the task they were set, how are you going to improve the situation, how are you going to help businesses start using social media? So the social media working group at our first meeting decided that the best way to do this was to create a selection of guides. And this is, we published our first draft guide, which can be accessed online by anyone, and anyone can read it and comment on it. And I can share that URL with people. But that basically that we published this draft guide and we asked people to comment on it, and then we asked people to come here today or to access the meeting remotely and to be involved in the conversation about that draft and how to bring it to the point where it is a guide and not a draft guide anymore.
And today's conversation was all about business blogging. So Brendan, there was a lot of great content from the people in the room and also through Twitter and the people who listened to us and joined us remotely through the stream. Tell me what your big takeaways are, because I think there's a bit of rewriting we need to do, isn't there?
There is, absolutely. Unfortunately, over Christmas is going to be busy for some of us. I think one of the biggest things I got from today is that there's a huge amount of interest in social media and in blogging among small SMEs and larger businesses, and then by PR and advertising professionals. But there's a lot of confusion about what the business benefits might actually be for social media. It's not traditional PR and it's not traditional advertising. It's a lot of people will say that you can't actually make money out of social media or out of blogging, but it does other things for your brand and it builds your brand, and it's about having a conversation with your customers. So the biggest thing really for me today was to gather the kinds of questions that people have, that businesses have, in terms of understanding the potential for social media for their business, and then we need to now take those away and to address those questions in our white papers.
Roseanne, you've actually had a blog. I know it started off initially as a personal blog yourself before you were blogging for the IIA, but back in 2003. So you were one of the people in the room who've actually had a blog for a long time and have been online for that length of time. What about the people who were with us today who actually were still thinking about getting a business blog going, not sure if it was for them? What was your big takeaway for those individuals?
Well, I think one of the things that many people like that might have taken away from today is some inspiration, firstly, but also the fact that you can be involved in blogging without actually writing a blog yourself. Especially as a business, if you can respond to customers without having to have a blog yourself, you can get involved in the conversation about your product or service on somebody else's blog, and I think most bloggers would appreciate that if they do have something to say about your product or service, and if you do show that you're listening and that you're interested. I think maybe some companies don't know how that they can listen to all of the conversations that are going on all the time, so that some of the comments that were made or the inputs that were given today about using Google Alerts, or one of the women here was talking about doing what you call media harvest once a week, would be really helpful for some of the people who are still thinking about diving into the blog pond, if you like.
Yeah, that was a great tip, wasn't it? That she actually spends some time on a Friday every single week going through who's been writing what about their business. Now, in fact, one of the people that we had with us, one of the companies with us, was in fact Paddy Power. So if we were to put odds on for the year ahead, this is back to you now, Brendan. What should we be putting odds on in terms of your predictions for social media in 2009 in Ireland?
I think we'll see a lot more businesses engaging with it. I think the work that we're going to try and do is to try and explain the benefits to more and more businesses, more and more Irish businesses through the IIA, and hopefully we'll see more businesses engaging with it and using it to support their business. I think we'll see far more of the PR industry involved in social media and engaging with bloggers and with others who are online and influencers online, because I think they're realising that people aren't just reading newspapers anymore or using traditional media. They're going on to search engines, they're listening to what others are saying in social networks and on blogs, and if a business wants to communicate and get its message out to its customers and to the public, then they need to engage with these people, with the influencers in social media. And I think we'll see far more PR people, for good or bad, engaging with social media in the next year.
In fact, there were a number of PR people here today and agencies as well. So that's your tips. What about yourself, Roseanne? What are your predictions for 2009?
Well, I suppose it's just something Brendan said there that got me thinking, and it was the PR people here who got me thinking about that as well, is that I wonder will we start seeing blogging becoming part of third level courses, particularly those to do PR and marketing and stuff like that, or social media in general, that people who are involved in even communications courses that are run throughout the country, that we'll start seeing graduates coming out with these skills. One thing that did get mentioned here today was that who do you get to blog? You know, who do you ask to be the blogger in your company? You know, particularly, I suppose, it would be an issue for the larger corporations, and that while the younger people are more net savvy, maybe that they don't have the voice of authority. So I think that we'll see maybe more within, particularly the larger companies, I suppose, more roles that are sort of social media evangelists or that kind of thing. I don't know if they have such fancy names, but we'll see some interesting names maybe given to social media executives in larger corporations. For the smaller ones, I think, like Brendan, I think we're just going to see more of our SMEs and our SMEs particularly maybe thinking about blogging and getting involved and using this guide hopefully to help them start that, or get them thinking about it and bringing it into their marketing and communication strategies.
Yeah, there was a lot of conversation about budgets being very, very tight at the moment, and I think a lot of people who were with us today were considering whether they could look at social media as a way to continue to express their presence, their brand online in a cost-effective way, although obviously there's an investment in time. But I think the big thing for me was also about we are the media. We are all bloggers. And as you said there, you know, people are looking online. So thank you for your tips. We'll look back at this in a year's time and actually see if your predictions have come true. Go put your bets on now down at Paddy Power. Thanks, guys. And we hope that you've actually found this of help. If you go back to the IIA website, iia.ie, you'll find details there. You can get updates from the newsletter, and I'm sure we'll be posting there when the first of our white papers is available, probably at the beginning of 2009. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks, Roseanne.